Good morning. My name is Maurice Crespi. I'm the managing partner of Schindler's Attorneys. Schindler's Attorneys is a co-founder of COBRA. We founded COBRA together with IQ Business and Engaged Business Turnaround. The idea behind COBRA is that we provide pro bono services to the public, to businesses, to assist businesses in distress in any which way possible. We've put together roughly 55 companies as partners who've all pledged to provide their services, their respective professional services to businesses in distress on a pro bono basis. We do so by way of Zoom meetings with you, your staff, your team. We arrange these webinars. We have an unbelievable knowledge base on our website, www.cobra.org.za. If you want to set anything up with us, email us at info@cobra.org.za and we'll immediately get back to you. So as I said, part and parcel of the pro bono service of these webinars, I'd like to welcome the attendees to this webinar. To the Facebook viewers, thank you for joining this morning, and to the panelists. I'm joined this morning by Adam Kraker of IQ Business. I have Rene Klopper from IQ Business. I have Emma Marais from IQ Business, Paul Michael Keikel, who is from Schindler's Attorneys, and Gary Barachowitz from Schindler's Attorneys. Our guest speaker tonight is Pepe Marais, who is going to be presenting on finding purpose. He is founder of one of SA's leading agencies and is a COBRA partner. A bit about him. Pepe Marais is the founding partner and group chief executive of brand and communication group Joe Public United. He lives to bring out the best of those around him. His definition of success is to create an environment of harmony and joy where the focus on the well-being of people, growing them to achieve the highest levels of self-worth, honesty, and excellence by nurturing ideas, dreams, and trust. Pepe is currently ranked the #1 creative leader in South African advertising industry. He is a published author and recipient of the 2018 Sanlam Business Partnership Entrepreneur of the Year Award for medium businesses, together with his business partner, Gareth Leck. He believes that Joe Public is at the beginning of what they set out to do in terms of the caliber of work they aspire to create. Pepe serves on the board of SA Day, is the founder and chairman of One School at a Time, and is a closet Afrikaner, rocker, and a humanitarian at heart. So thank you, Pepe. Thank you to the attendees, and thank you to the panelists. Over to you, Pepe.
I always smile when I hear these lofty introductions. I need to get my PA to send out shorter ones as well. But thank you for that introduction. I just want to quickly get to my screen. So, good morning, everyone, and whoever's viewing. And thank you so much for the opportunity. Yeah, I'm sure we're all aware that we're in a very, very tough time. I've got my dogs going mad outside. 1 second. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put my heart out there this morning. I want to take you through a little bit of context on this new approach to business that I discovered a decade ago. And I don't just want to go into the methodology and the approach without giving the context of how that happened. And I'm always very conscious when I share a bit of my background and my life story that all businesses start somewhere. You know, so there might be entrepreneurs listening, there might be people in corporates listening, but for me as an entrepreneur, the journey starts for all of us for a particular reason. And I just wanted to give a little bit of background to this methodology I'm going to share today. And whenever I share my story, I want to share it this way not because I think mine's different or my background is more difficult than anyone else's. We all have very interesting context to our lives. But however we grow up it leads us to what we become in adulthood. So I was born into the home of a very severe alcoholic father. My mother was a school teacher, and my dad, because of the alcohol, he was extremely abusive. So I grew up in a very, very abusive home, to a level that I think I was about 4 years old when my dad lined myself, my mother, and my sister up in his bedroom, and he wanted to shoot us. And of course, these things in my unconscious impacted my entire life. One of the things when I look back, though, that I'm so grateful for is because of the dysfunction of our background. Although my mother worked extremely hard, I had to start working for income at the age of 11. So I started delivering newspapers, and I think that was the birth of my entrepreneurial journey, to discover that I can create my own means in life and just take responsibility for myself. I wanted to share this little drawing by means of illustration. I was never good at school. I really wasn't. I always joke, I say the only thing I got an A for was underachiever. So I was really not great at school. I didn't really like the school system. In fact, I think the school system really dumbs us down as people. And I fell in love with a girl, an English girl. I'm Afrikaans. And I fell in love with an English girl, and she was the girlfriend of one of our sports stars in the school. So I didn't know how I'm going to get this girl. And somehow I decided to draw her face on a chicken egg, which I stole from my mother's fridge. And I don't know why, but I gave her this gift and it resonated with her, and she became my girlfriend at school. And this is a picture of her, and I often joke about this picture. I say that's me and her. But this is a love affair that started at the age of 16 in my life, and it's quite profound. I left at the end of matric to go to the army. Back in those days, it was 1986. If you were white Afrikaner in South Africa, you had to do conscription. So I had 2 years I had to go to the army. So of course my girlfriend left me and broke my heart. So off I went, and she left me for a guy who could play guitar. And I thought, well, I'm going to take the 2 years in the army and I'm going to learn how to play guitar, and I'm going to get my girlfriend back. So I used those 2 years to learn how to play the guitar, which was life-changing because I never knew that I had music in me. So then I learned how to play guitar, and it opened up a whole different stream to my life. So suddenly I got into music. For 16 years, I played music from anything from 2 people to 3,000 people. I played gigs all over South Africa. That's me on the right-hand side of the screen with a long hair, Melville. That's about 1995. And it was so fascinating. And I'm sharing this story today because this happened to me more than 20 years ago. But fundamentally, the insight to me out of that story and out of that experience, so it's not just a story, it was a true deep experience. I really learned fundamentally that the worst thing that can happen is the best thing that can happen. Always. I have not experienced this in context of losing someone close to me to death. So I don't want to comment within that context, but in anything else, every single thing I've experienced in my life, when the worst thing goes down, I always look out for the best thing that's going to come out of it. And I think this is my view at the moment, for as tough as it is in business, for ourselves as well, and in life. And we see people that are really affected by it physically. But I'm looking towards this COVID-19 experience as a door opener to something new and something different. And of course, I got the girl back. So there's another picture that I smile, because it makes me think it's almost this first same-sex marriage in 1996. So that's me and her. I got the girl back. I married her. She's my wife today. We've been together for, I think, 35 years. I'm spending 90 days of my time with her at the moment. It's the longest time we've ever been together, and we haven't killed each other yet. And then this beautiful boy was born out of this relationship. Quite late in our lives. He's 11 years old now, and I'm also getting to spend quality time with him over this period. So 2 insights. The first one for me, and all these things I am saying in context of business, because I don't think business, there's no such thing in my world as my business life and my private life. I've got one intertwined life, and they're all the same thing. And the first thing to me is never ever underestimate the value of an act of the heart. And we tend to try and operate so much in business with our head, and we lose our hearts. You know, we forget that we found our businesses on an act of the heart, never on the act of the head. I'm actually doing an MBA at the moment for my sons, and I'm realizing that the books on business and how you start businesses are completely wrong. And I find that if you had to go and do business plans and laborious sort of tactics to start a business, you'll never start. So my only way of starting a business is you just start. And you start as an act of the heart. And the second thing is to never underestimate the value of a human being. And right now, it's so fascinating. If anyone's listening with children, you will know that you cannot put a rand value on the head of your child. And if I had to put a gun to your head and force you to put a rand value on the head of your child, you will probably come up with billions of rands. And I find it so fascinating in this world we live in at the moment that we forget this value. That if we have children, we are factually billionaires already. And if we're going through a crisis right now and our businesses are shrinking and we're really struggling financially, I just keep on looking towards my child and I go, well, he's healthy. So I haven't lost a cent yet because he's healthy. And that's all that matters for me at the moment. So we as human beings are this incredible valuable asset, and we forget this because we are so caught in the financial side of the world. And I'll unpack the financial side a bit later. I'm very financially driven as well, so I don't operate in the absence of finances, but I think it needs a certain framing. I continued through my little journey. I finished the army, my conscription at the end of 1988. And I literally handed over my R4 rifle for a 4B pencil. I discovered art completely by chance, almost the way I discovered music, by chance. It was no plan. I wanted to become a civil engineer because I believed engineers make a lot of money and I wanted to make money. But I found art and instead became an artist. And I was exceptionally good at it. It was the first thing I found in my life that I was really, really good at. And when I discovered how good I was at it at the age of 20, 21, I made a pact with myself that I will have my own business before I'm 30. I said, I'll go and work for someone else, gain experience, but before I'm 30, I will have my own business. And at the age of 29, I opened the doors to Joe Public. I somehow intuitively knew that I needed a business partner because I had the creative label. As a creative person, I felt I needed someone who can run the finances of the business, and I will run the product of the business. And I found myself an incredible business partner. And together we started this business. And it was a spectacular story because it was quite revolutionary in our industry. Takeaway advertising. It was a restaurant with a menu of rare, medium, and well-done ads that you could buy off a menu. So we made the whole costing model transparent. And I loved the idea. And the idea triggered us to start this business. But in 2006, things started going wrong. We sold the business in 2001 to an international corporation. And I was just an employee for about 9 years of my journey with Joe Public. But in 2006, I come from a racist Afrikaans background, old South Africa. So conditioned into that household. And I'm not blaming my parents, that was the condition of society. And I worked very hard to get out of that conditioning. And I had into our fold, we merged with a business in Johannesburg, and one of the people, senior executives, was a racist, and I fired him. And in turn, he went to work for our biggest client, and he fired us 3 months later, and we lost half our business. And it was the beginning of the end of our business. And by the time when 2008 recession hit, our business started going under. And by about February 2009, we were at the bottom of the barrel. So we pretty much lost 10 years of our efforts overnight in the 2008-2009 crisis that hit the world. And I went into personal recession because at that stage of my life, I was very much defined by financial success. And I was very much defined by what the business looked like from outside, the success of our business from the outside. But deep within me, I was not successful. So I went on a deep dive, and I actually went on a really, really deep search, because all areas of my life was failing. I'm an extremely hard worker, and I'm very, very good at what I do. And I don't say that with arrogance. I'm just stating a fact. I'm exceptionally good at my job, and I'm an extremely hard worker. It comes from starting to work at the age of 11, but nothing manifested in my life. So on a business level, financial success did not manifest. Excellence in product did not manifest in our business. Our product was really, really poor. My personal life was not going well. My relationship with my wife was falling apart. And all these areas going wrong in my life, this really dark stage I was going through, sent me on a search to find out what is the reason for life. Like, I'm very clear on everything around me and what I'm trying to do here, but I was not clear on why I am on this planet. Why am I in business? What am I trying to achieve here? And I found a very interesting transformational workshop. And at that stage, I was willing to try anything. And I went and I attended this workshop. And on this date on the screen, 12th of January 2007, I was exposed to this notion of life purpose. Now, the word purpose has been talked about for the past decade. And if you go and Google business purpose right now, you will find thousands of articles. And there's books written on it. There's a beautiful book called Firms of Endearment. There's Conscious Capitalism is another book. So there's a lot of writing on purpose for business. I'm not sure if there's a lot of businesses that truly deliver on purpose yet, but there's a lot of talk about this concept. But I want to start more from a personal experience point of view. And excuse me. My story started finding my own personal life purpose on this date, and it was a profound experience. And it came to me in one word. Now, I'm also in marketing, and I'm also strategic by nature. And I'm finding more and more in marketing that if you can define a brand by one word, you create more salience for yourself. So I think there was a sort of an unconscious resonance with this methodology back then already. But the purpose came to me in one word. And by the discovery of this insight on why I'm in this world, I moved overnight from one city to an entirely new city. And I'm borrowing here from a book called The Art of Possibility, where the author speaks about scarcity and generosity, the two cities of life. And I realized at that stage, I was very much operating in service of myself, all about giving R1 value for R1 in return. And that's really the city of scarcity, where generosity is you operate from giving 10 Rand and you actually don't care what comes back in return. You just give massive value, and you believe that naturally the value will be returned. And I had such a spectacular turnaround in my life that I will say exponentially, every single aspect from my business to my private life exponentially expanded and grew on the same effort over the last decade, to such a degree that I was compelled to write a book on it. So I published this book in 2018, in which I just explained the entire process and everything that changed in my life. And I'm not trying to sell anyone who's watching a book right now, but I'll give you this insight, which is at the heart of the book. This is the one pager at the kernel middle of this book, is that there's two sides to life. There's the human side, the one that we're all part of, the one we all intimately understand, where you're given your name. So I'm given my name, Pepe Marais, and it becomes about what I do in life. And everything becomes about the material, and it's about where I live, which school my child attends, what car I drive, where my business, how big's my business, how many people work there, what do we do? And in essence, when you look at that model, it's about self-service. And I'm a big believer in the serving of the self, because if we don't sustain ourselves, we can't serve anyone else. But in truth, that is only half of life. And we're not conscious of this. So it's an important part of life, but it's not the essence and the whole of life. Because on the other side of life is a thing called the being. Now, what I did before I discovered this, because I love maths, and I measured my life in 2006 and 2007 when it fell apart. And I realized that I felt that I was putting in 100%, but I was getting out less than 40%. So when I came up with this idea of the human being model, and I came up with this thought that half of it is actually the human, and I'm a high performance person, and my efforts are really 80 plus. When I did the little mathematical exercise of 80% times 50% equals 40%, it started making sense to me that there's something in this notion of only living a human life. On the other side of the model is the being. And I'm not saying this in the context of any religion. This is more in the context of spirituality or something bigger that's going on around us, the perfection of life. But on the other side of each of us as individuals is the being. And that is more your greater power in this world. And that's where the being name comes in. That's where what you be becomes more important. That is where greater cause plays a role in your life. And that's much more. In fact, in essence, it's about serving others. And it's a very subtle balance from the one to the other. But when I moved more into that space, my entire life started opening up. And with the same effort, initially everything doubled. And then over the years, exponentially it trebled. And it just went up and up and up to hundreds of times the manifesting power of what I experienced before in my life. So I realized potentially it's not just 50-50, that there's so much more power on the right-hand side. It's probably 1%, 99, or even more. I haven't figured that out yet. But it's just to make anyone who's listening conscious of this idea that we have become obsessed with the humanness and completely forgotten about the true power within each of us. So I want to apply this theory a little bit to business and to brand. I can go much deeper into it, and I'm still interrogating it. And my studies at the moment is actually, I'm working towards a PhD, which I will write on this with a lot of data behind it. But the theory applied to brand, Jane Goodall famously said, it was a beautiful saying, I read about it in a magazine. She said, just like humans are human beings, monkeys are monkey beings. Cats are cat beings, dogs are dog beings. And of course, it made me think that maybe sheep are sheep beings. So I became a vegan overnight. It's not something I'm advocating for anyone to follow, but it's how my mind works. I have these insights, they resonate with me, and then I apply them to my life because I just can't move forward doing things the same way because now a sheep's a sheep being. I remember going to my dog that night and looking into his eyes and thinking, wow, I've never considered my dog being a being. So I asked myself at that stage, can a business be a business being? Is a business just a business? And according to the, what was his surname? I think it was called Friedman in the 70s. There was a famous, Friedman, I think he won a Nobel Peace Prize. And his whole methodology was about shareholder value. And that businesses exist to make money. And that was his whole hypothesis. And I find it so interesting, this notion of a business exists to make money. Because I can't think back that we started our business at infancy with a notion of we want to make money. There was something completely else going on. So I asked myself, can a business be a business being? At this stage, my partner, who trusts me, I approached him and said, look, I want to apply this methodology to our business. I want to see if there is something greater reason for this business existing than just to make ads. And for 6 months, we had 30 people at that stage working for us. And I worked in teams of 5, 6 teams, 5 people each team. And I spent a lot of time with them doing what we in time would call why digging, and trying to get out of each person what attracted them to our business. And through the process, which I refined over the years, and I can actually work with a group of people within 8 hours in one day, get them down to uncovering unconsciously why the business exists. But we discovered the one word our business exists for, and it's growth. And it's quite an obvious one. People might say, yeah, but of course, all business wants to grow. I've run about 25 of these workshops over the past decade. I do it in my spare time as part of my studies, and trying to gain more knowledge on the subject. Every single business I work with has got a different word. Every now and again, there's a duplication. But much more profound than the word is the entry point, the unconscious entry point into the business. So here we are, ad agency. We sell creativity. We sell thinking. So one would think our purpose should be thinking or creativity. It turns out that it's growth in the deep unconscious of a business. And when we started unpacking what it means, because I think this is where the true nugget is, it's not the word, it's what the word means. The word means to be the fertile soil that grows our people, our clients, and our country. And we made this the strategy of our business in 2010. And in a decade, we expanded our business by 100-fold. It's an incredible growth story. Through the very flat economy, we have grown on average 48% year-on-year compound for a decade. And on no different people, on the same people, same efforts. Of course, we're improving daily, but something significant happened. So we brought this into our business and went to the top of our industry, where we are currently ranked number 1. And we don't think we have even started to do what we set out to do. And during this crisis, we are working very hard to take our business to the next level. So my view is, without purpose, at the very best, a business can be good. There's a lot of successful businesses in the world that's making a lot of money. But that's another thing that concerns me, is that we take money as a measure of business success. I think it's one measure, and I'll share a little insight just now. But I think it's a far cry from what is the true measure of success of business. I believe that with purpose, at the very least, your business will be great. There's this beautiful book written by Phil Knight. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend it. It's beautifully written. I think he must have written it when he was in his late 60s, maybe even early 70s. So the wisdom that comes with that sort of period of time in business, and also building as profound a business as Nike from scratch. But Phil, towards the end of the book, and I don't think a lot of people that read the book see the genius in that line. And I'm not sure if it is his own words. I've come across it quite a few other places since, but it is truly profound. And he says, we all understand the function of blood in our bodies. If it doesn't flow, you die. But if you ask me why I exist, I don't answer to make blood. And I find this so profound because, of course, we all understand. Money is the lifeblood of business. If it doesn't flow through the veins of our businesses will die. But I don't wake up every morning thinking I must make blood. And this is an insight for personal life and for business, because I think we've got the world of business wrong. So the method to the methodology, just a little bit of unpacking on how we've approached this in our business. It all starts with purpose. It's not what you do, it's why you do what you do. Simon Sinek, I think, came out in 2010, 2011 with Start With a Why, another very insightful book. I think a layer on top of this why is the insight that it is fundamentally one word, guaranteed. In your personal life, there's a deep-seated, unconscious one word that you stand for. That's very difficult to find just using your logic. It needs some deep process. Equally, a business, in my experience, has a deep unconscious word beyond what the founders named the business, beyond the human name. So it starts with a purpose. As an example, I use this example, I just came up with it the other day. I tried to keep it really simple. You might have a business that sells beauty products. So you might be in the business selling beauty products. And you might think, hence your business's name should be beauty. But maybe your business's name is self-confidence. Because what you're truly selling is self-confidence and not beauty. Maybe. And if that is so, your communication around your business changes profoundly. Because when you speak from the skin deep, they say beauty is but skin deep. When you speak from just that first layer of communication, you're not resonating to the deepest level of why you truly get up every morning and put your blood into your business, put your sweat into your business. So it's just by mere demonstration to just share a little bit of this insight. Don't think that your purpose of your business is necessarily your product. I think the product is how you're going to get there, but the why is something deeper than just the product. So the product here might be beauty, but the deeper reason for being is self-esteem, self-confidence that you're selling. The business books at business school teaches us that you start a business with a vision. And I personally disagree with that. I think a vision that's created in the absence of purpose is 9 out of 10 times going to be self-serving. Hence, the way we approach our business, and I personally believe is, in my view, the better way to approach it. It's not necessarily the right way, but in my view is the better way, is you start with purpose. You find that deep, deep word that's underneath your product. And once you find that, let that dictate your vision, because your vision shifts profoundly. I've seen that in my personal life with my personal purpose and what my vision for my life became before my purpose. And I've seen in our business, the vision of the business in absence of purpose, and what that vision became once we found purpose. So those are the first 2 steps. Find a deeper purpose. Maybe now's the time. You know, we're going through a crisis. We're hitting that brick wall. We don't know which way to go. We'll try anything. So let's try some crazy thing and find a greater purpose for the business. Then once you find that business purpose, create a vision based on that purpose. And then only I found that I need to drive a certain behavior within the business, and that behavior needs guidance. And that became the values. The values became the steps that connects the purpose to the vision. So I ran another workshop once we had those 2 things in place with all our people, and we carved ourselves 6 values, which became our daily deliverables within the business. And I found, I'm quoting someone, I don't even know who I'm quoting. I know this is definitely not me saying this, but I did read this and it resonates. People don't buy what you're selling. They buy what you believe in. So the need to find something deeper than just what you're selling is so needed right now as we go into a new phase of the world once we get out of this current phase. So the world is upside down at the moment. I think it was upside down before COVID hit us. I think potentially COVID is hitting us to turn it the right way around, or to try and attempt to guide us to find new ways, because there's no doubt in my mind that we've lost our way. I'm very fortunate in advertising. We connect with multiple industries and we connect at the highest level. And I'm astounded at the way that businesses operate. I'm astounded at the obsession for shareholder value. One of the first moves we made as a business when we hit the crisis is to go to 0 profit and to give our margin back to our clients, because it was more important just to get the lifeblood feeding into the business without having to make a margin. and we knew that they were struggling, and we tried to give them maximum back. Work for zero margin, rather pay our salaries. I recommended this to a bigger corporate who told me they can't do it because their shareholders will disinvest. And I thought, what a pity, because if all of us could do this collectively, we could all collectively get through this. So the world is a bit upside down. We've put bottom line at the top of our priorities. And maybe not if you're an entrepreneur. I haven't found this in entrepreneurships, but I surely have found this in the corporate world, that the greatest concern is market share, sales, and bottom line returns. And it just doesn't make sense to me, because in my experience, it doesn't work like that. When I used to be a musician, I used to busk at Green Market Square in Cape Town. I'll never forget it. I would never put my hat down, wait for the money, and then play music like a monkey. I would play my heart out, and the money would naturally follow. So to me, it follows that business works exactly the same way. You play your heart out, the money naturally follows. So I'm hoping that the COVID reset will be potentially that more businesses will start taking this notion of a greater purpose for business seriously and seek to really find it and put that purpose at the top of our agendas. Because once we start with purpose, the vision changes, the value set of the business changes, and that starts changing the people that's attracted to the business energetically. And it radically starts changing the product. It influences it, doesn't change it, but it evolves it. It starts coming out in the product. Whatever that product or service is, it starts coming out in it. It starts shifting your long-term goals, your short-term goals, systems. Every single system in our business is built around our purpose. And it shifts the strategy of the business profoundly. And of course, the marketing and PR. So everything is based on this one thing called the purpose. And then, of course, it takes the bottom line back to where it should be, which is at the bottom. That's why it's called the bottom line. It's at the back end of a total process. And in my experience, it becomes a far healthier bottom line. So some parting thoughts, and then I'll open the floor for just any questions, if anyone's got any questions. But just some parting thoughts. I used to smoke for 18 years of my life. I mean, I smile today to think that there was a time of my life that I would read "Smoking Kills" on a box of cigarettes and consciously put a cigarette to my mouth. But I always, when I look at a box of cigarettes, I think that to me is such a good metaphor for knowledge. Because there's a saying that says knowledge is power, which is a total lie in my view. Because knowledge is not power. Knowledge is knowledge. Because there on the box of cigarette, it says "Smoking Kills." And for as long as I carry on smoking, the knowledge is not power. It's the day I apply the knowledge that the knowledge becomes powerful. So to me, the big, I think, gift that I've got as a person is I've got the power of application. When I see any knowledge that resonates, I apply it to my life and to business. So consciousness for me without action remains unconsciousness. So if you have a purpose and you say your business have a purpose, but you're not applying it rigorously, I think you might as well not have a purpose in the first place. And I think the new world that we're entering, that purpose is no longer going to be a differentiator. I think there's a lot of businesses that's talking about having purpose. I do not think that's going to be the differentiator. I think what's going to be the game changer is the action based on the purpose. So I found this in my own business. After 10 years of having purpose, which is why I believe we're not even close to where we should be, I found in our own business, as a passionate believer in purpose, that we're so far from delivering on the purpose. So I'm on a mission, and this is something I've done in my personal life, and I'll share a little bit on it just now in closing. But I believe what you measure will manifest. And I don't think measurement is a way of showing that you're not good enough or showing that, oh, I must do. Measurement to me is about consciousness. It's about becoming conscious of the truth, because we often fabricate. We never have data that shows us exactly where am I. And I find, like, when I started measuring in my life, things seriously started to manifest. So this is a new ecosystem that we built in our business. And it's built on this insight. We had 2 businesses that went under in the last couple of years within our group. Both of them financially looked fantastic. They were growing 20% year on year. Every time I checked to see how they're doing, I was told they're doing brilliantly. They're growing 20% year on year. When I delved a bit deeper, the people were deeply unhappy in the business and the product was terrible. So I realized money is not a measure of success at all. You need a mean score across different areas. So what we're doing in our business, we are measuring the growth of our people with real data. We are measuring the growth of our product, the improvement of our product with real data. The growth of clients is easy because we've got the sales. Growth of profits easy, that's already in place. We're measuring the growth of our brand with data, and we're measuring our contribution to the country, whether that is the schools we support or whether that is just through job creation. And we're putting metrics in place. And the mean score across all 6 areas going forward will be our growth of our business and not just the financial growth. Because I think measuring only financial growth does not show true growth of a business. I believe a life well measured is a life well lived. So when you start measuring, it really starts expanding your life because you start dealing with the truth. And I created a blueprint for myself in 2007, and I wrote a 25-year vision or plan, hoping to culminate in 2032. And based on that purpose that I found and my vision and my own personal values, I set on to measuring every aspect of my life. So every single year, I actually check up on my 25-year plan, and I write my annual plan based on my 25-year plan, and I measure every single goal that I put down against my 5 values, and I will review it at the end of the year to see what I achieved. And then I measure the gap, and I take the gap and I close the gap. And then I break that down to monthly business objectives and monthly personal objectives, and I measure these as well. And then I break it down on weekly objectives, and I'll sit every Sunday night and I'll set my plan for the week. And every Sunday I will review my plan for the week. And then that I break every single day into objectives per day, and I measure them. So I've found over 13 years that I know exactly what my true output is every single week of my life. And I've seen such major shifts in my life because the measurement never became about not being good enough. It just gave me the reality to see where I'm at. And this is what I started applying within our business. And this is what's shifting our business. Very, very last slide I want to share, and then I'm finished. I said 45 minutes, and I think it's going to be on the minute. But in 2009, so I used to suffer, I think, 20 years of my career, and eventually in the limelight of our business and on the front end, I used to suffer from severe social phobia. And social phobia is actually what I discovered was what my father had and what drove him to drink, which is why I've got so much compassion for him, because now I understand why he was what he was. Social phobia is an incredibly debilitating condition where you cannot be in the public eye. And when we lost everything in 2008, 2009, had to restart our business, my confidence went with it. And already I had this condition within myself, which, by the way, I don't have anymore, thanks to finding purpose in my life. So if you have a precondition like that, definitely go and find purpose. It will sort it out. It will give you the clarity. But back then in 2009, I was very, 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 my self-esteem was at an all-time low. And I got this insight from someone back then, and I applied it. And the insight was, every morning when I brush my teeth, to look myself in the mirror and to say, I love you. Now, and to say to myself, you are amazing and you are great. And it's fascinating. I'll never forget the first day that I did it. I was judging an international award show and I was staying at the Hotel Martinez, which was fantastic because I was bankrupt and I was staying at like a 10 grand a night hotel in Nice, in France. And I remember it's the first time I did it. It was in 2009, June, July, whatever the date was. I did it in my hotel room, and the first time I did it, I blushed. I blushed saying, I love you to myself. And I never stopped doing it. And I did it this morning as well. And I highly recommend it because leadership starts with leading ourselves. And it starts with profoundly fixing ourselves on the inside so we can lead others to follow us. And so that we can grow our businesses in order to create more jobs in this country. But it starts with ourselves. And I found this has been such a liberating little trick of my trade to start my day with acknowledging me first and foremost on a deeper level, not just the human me, but the human and the being me, and then step into the day. So I sincerely hope you had some insights out of this presentation. If there's any question, I can take questions now, but I just want to say, I think we are in a very special time of our lives. As tough as it may feel, we are going to look back in years to come. And we're going to see that this has been probably the biggest gift in business we could have ever received, as tough as it feels right now. So wishing you all the best, and thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Pepe. Thanks so much for that. I wrote something down, and I want to put it to you as a good attorney would. And it's a characterization of you in light of what you've just said. So I characterize you as follows: a mindful vegan. He is vegan because he is mindful, who appreciates the laws of heuristic escalation, and who is able to recognize and push through cognitive biases in the acquisition and application of knowledge. How does that sound?
Thank you. Like a good lawyer.
No, absolutely.
But that's spot on, and thank you for that. And I must just say, as I'm speaking here, I am so far from where I should be. So I also don't ever want to come across that I think I'm some sort of a. I really, my room for growth is huge, and it's a daily aspect of my life. But thanks for that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally appreciate where you're coming from. I mean, it's you're mindful about the fact that there's room for growth, and it's by being mindful that you acquire the knowledge, and you're able to push through the cognitive biases because of the mindfulness that you apply. So you say to yourself, you look at a pack of cigarettes, you say, smoking kills me, and then you say, why am I not doing it? And then you're recognizing that there's certain pulls and levers that are pushing you away, and you're mindful about those. And that's how you acquire the knowledge, by pushing through the biases, and then you apply it. And that's how you quit smoking. So it's absolutely
100%.
brilliant. We have
Thanks,
some questions, so let's turn to that. How can I use your strategy in the legal profession? And thank you for opening my eyes.
So how can you use the strategy in your legal profession? So I think this strategy is applicable to any profession under the sun. So I don't really know how else to answer it. I would say just try and find out what is the purpose underneath you being in your legal profession, because that was the thing that shook me up, is the fact that something, advertising, they say, is the second worst profession to a used car salesperson. Now, I'm a vegan and I don't drink. I've not drunk a drop of alcohol for 13 years, but I sell SA Breweries products and I sell chicken licken. So you go like, well, who are you? But what interested me was what's underneath what I do. And underneath this craft of mine is this absolute passion to grow people and through growing people to enable them to be the best they can be in their profession or outside of it, and then add more value. And I think that if I was a lawyer, I personally would have had the same purpose, and I would have brought that out in my legal concern on a personal level. But I would have been very interested in trying to find what is that word that my legal practice stands for, beyond the name that the founders gave it, which is the human name. And if you can find that, I think it will definitely, in my view, if you apply it, you have to apply it though. But it will take you on a different journey in terms of how you approach your legal practice.
Yeah, thanks for that question, Elson. We have another question from Megan. COVID has given me an opportunity to think about my bigger plans, which have evolved even more, and how they feel, and now they feel even bigger and scarier, but the purpose is quality. The message I get from you is just do it while remembering the purpose, and everything will fall into place. Any advice on that vague idea?
So I can just speak what comes up for me. So my context, and I'm very clear, by white old South African standards, I grew up poor. By the standard of our country, I work in townships, I was rich. But let's say I started with little means. And as I grew up, first I wanted to become an engineer to make money. Then even when I started the ad agency, it was to make money. I wanted to make X amount of million by 50, buy a yacht, sail the world. That was my vision. I didn't have a purpose. I started my journey in my 20s with a very clear ambition to make X amount of millions, retire, buy a yacht, sail the world. That's quite a big idea. That's quite a big vision, some could say. When I found my purpose, my vision became to change the education system of South Africa profoundly. Now, you can't compare those two visions. So all I can say is, it is great to have big plans, but I think to take a step back and see what are those plans based on would be interesting. And that's why I find the purpose is it truly grounds you. And I think that's why my social phobia dissipated, because I was grounded for the first time in my life. So I wasn't anxious anymore. I'm not anxious at all through this entire thing we're going through. Our business has taken a knock. We're 40% back on revenue. But it's like shares, if you don't sell out, you're not going to lose money. It will come back. So we just need to keep our people in jobs. But I would just say it's good to have big plans that scare you. Just double check what they're based on. And purpose is that foundation. And then, of course, I'm a big believer in action and not talk. I wrote in my book a chapter on how to start a business, and it just had one word. It said start. So I'm a big believer in vision, but I'm a bigger believer in vision that should be built on a purpose.
We have a question from Adam. Have you considered certifying Joe Public as a B Corporation? Would this external view reinforce the measurement principle and validation of your purpose at Joe Public?
How's it, Adam? Don't ask me no eyebrow questions. Just give me a bit of explanation. As a B Corporation, what's that?
Adam, are you there? There we go.
I'm here, Pepe. Thanks. Firstly, thank you very much for your presentation this morning. Really inspiring. Every time I hear you or read another section of your book, I learn another angle. It's just so brilliant. So B corporations there are 3,300 B corporations around the world, and I'll say up front, we're one of them at IQ Business. And it's essentially a certification on 200 different criteria that are used to assess the social, environmental, and economic impact of a business in terms of using business as a force for good, making sure that the business, the for-profit enterprise, is constituted to create that impact. There are only 9 B corporations in South Africa and 35 in Africa, but 3,300 around the world. So it'd be great to see, or we could explore offline whether that's something that Joe Public would consider.
Yeah, no, as you say it, that's why you see, but that's me. I'm a sponge and I love new information. So I've never heard of that. And I will definitely take that offline with you, because I think in my experience, we don't change as human beings. I've worked it out to be 1 in 2,500. It's terrible, because that only gives about 24,000 people in South Africa out of 60 million the opportunity, because the application is so tough. You know, the discipline to apply is so tough. So I wish it would be more, but it's going to be interesting to see how quickly we fall back into habits. You know, in COVID, and we've got new plans and we'll do things in a new way, and then we get out of it and we fall back in the old ways. But I would like us as a business, as I know you guys are also purpose driven, and I also know we share the same business purpose. But I would like to be part of that new wave. So I'll definitely take this up with you, Adam. Thanks for that.
You know, I just want to tell you, I every year with the new recruits at Schindler's, I give them an analogy, which I think will resonate with you. What I say to them is, and this is a true story, when I played Pac-Man, remember we used to go into the cafes and play Pac-Man 20 cents. I used to play Pac-Man, and I'd love the game. And every now and again, I'd get a high score, and I'd look at this high score, and I'd say, wow, I got the high score. And then I'd decide to play to beat the high score. And every time I played with a view to beating the high score, I never would be able to. It was only when I played the game that I'd beat the high score. And I say that to the recruits. It's, you got to play the game. You got to love the game, and the high score follows. And that's what you've been saying. It will follow.
I love that. I love that. And let me just tell you, in the future, maybe we'll go to Monty, because there's still, in that little arcade, there's a little Pac-Man, and I used to be a Pac-Man whiz.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, so we'll play the game and let's see who gets the high score.
And it's going to be a very interesting thing, but it is so profound what you're saying. But these are the things, you know, like, because it's so true. That's it. It links to the playing music and the hat fills up. To apply that, you know, we know mindfulness, being in the moment, the police, they come in, they're asking me to come back to Joburg. But the applications are difficult, but I'm 100% aligned to that message of yours as well. It's absolutely the truth for me. And I think that's hopefully also, as we go through this tough time, and our revenues are contracting, well, that's quite an insight. We've actually, one of our biggest clients couldn't trade. So their revenue, their income went to zero. We decided to work for free. We said, well, we've got the people in place. We're going to do this entire project to help them to try and sway government's opinion with the lockdown. And highlight this thing of livelihoods as important as lives. And in the end of the day, we didn't charge them, because we felt it's not right to charge our client if they don't have income. But we know that if they get through it, they're going to naturally come back. And I think it's that thing. We just played our heart out. We played the game, Pac-Man. We didn't worry about the returns or the money. That always naturally comes. And I so wish that more and more people will see that, and rather use this time to give more and to make your product better. And even with us now, there's big talk that revenues are going to continue to decline because consumer behavior is going to change. And I was asked the other day, you know, what are we going to do with our revenues coming down? I said, well, all you have to worry about is what you do with the revenues. So don't worry about how much the revenue is going to be. You can't control it. But what you can control is the caliber of product that you create. You can control that. And that actually, just quickly, I want to mention that as I'm focusing only on what I control, what I can control in this time. I cut out anything, any talk, any hypothesis. We don't know what's coming. So don't worry about it. But I can control today my reviews with my people. I can control how I behave with them. I can control the product we can creating. And I'm just focusing on that which I can factually control. And which is also why I love this idea of measuring, because I don't measure stuff I can't control. I just measure what I can control. And then at least I give myself a fair chance in this very, very complex world we live in.
Well, what I have measured is your message as being very, very powerful. Thanks so much, Pepe. This is fantastic. We're going to ask that you come back, and I'm most certainly going to have an offline discussion with you.
Awesome.
Thanks to you, thanks to the panelists, and thanks to the attendees. And remember, the very, very important message, just do it. Thanks, guys.